So first we are going to discuss Manpreet Kaur spoken ideas. First, she lingered heavily on fragmented sentences. She was unable to complete the sentences. Grammar was not right, not up to date. Even the cohesion and coherence, she lacked everything. The story was told in third person point of view, and ideas were coming leaping one after another. There is no illustration of any ideas. First launch new movie, then came the topic of doing some blood donations, establishing schools for girls, and then again she lingered heavily on movies, smoke free ideas, ideas which were never expressed beautifully. Nothing supporting those ideas, no visual representation was there. What the movie depicts, what character the movie depicted, and how the Ram Rahim differs from the other saint. She was failed. She failed everything. There was nothing which we call the story. Story is not there. If one idea, then second idea, then pops in the third idea, fourth idea, fifth idea. And the whole ideas were culminated within 2 minutes, and they were nothing impressive. Sent, sentences was fragmented. Now I come to Samiksha ma'am. Samiksha ma'am is really doing, performing better. She is uttering each day, she is uttering 3 sentences, and she is getting the help of all the students in order to uttering those sentences. She is getting the ideas of others to be shoved in her mind. She has no idea what to do, how to express her. Nothing. And after 15 days, she is still lagging far behind. And afterwards, I come to Gurpreet. Gurpreet's expression was quite good, but still she failed to make it, represent it as a story. Story was not there. We are lacking the stories. We are not seeing the events as they happen. Why? How? Always go in search of why. If he is inspirational figure to me, why? What is special? What puts him first in place of others? What makes starkingly different? क्या चीज़ है जो उसे different बनाती है? क्या चीज़ है जो मुझे उससे अलग करती है दूसरों से? We have to include those ideas as well. We have to portray the story in order to explain your vision clearly. तो एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए विजन को बहुत जरूरी है कि आपको पोर्ट्रे करें, विजुअल रिप्रेजेंटेशन होना चाहिए स्टोरी का. बट वी कम द टिट्स बिट्स ऑफ द स्टोरी, एंड अगेन आइडियाज आफ्टर आइडियाज, बट नो इल्यूमिनेशन इज देयर. कोई इल्यूमिनेशन नहीं आइडिया था, कोई कनेक्शन नहीं आइडिया था. फर्स्ट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक appear, he is resilient. Then comes the next, he is hardworking. Then comes the next thought, he is inspirational. Afterwards, leap in, we forget, he motivated me a lot. After came, he is spending a lot of time in the farmer. He is a great farmer. No connection is there. We are taking just single thought, then second thought, then third thought, then fourth thought. If I say that he is really resilient, I have to show you how he is thus. वो ऐसा क्यों है? I have to explain those circumstances which prove that he is resilient. Those circumstances which prove that he is resilient. You सहनशील, resilient है, सहनशील है. You have to show that when the business flop, and at that time the family was in the hardships, a huge debt occurred to the family, but he bravely fought and the visitors, who the creator was always coming to our doors, and not only he convinced them. It is the story. The story is there. You can easily understand that there. You have not to say that he is resilient. Everybody understand that he is resilient, but you are saying he is resilient, but there is no story behind it. कोई स्टोरी नहीं है इसके पीछे. आपको दिखाना होता है, शो 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 एंड डोंट टेल डोंट टेल डोंट टेल. द एग्जामिनर इज गोइंग फॉर द स्टोरी, स्टोरी के लिए जा रहा है वो, ही इज गोइंग फॉर द स्टोरी, बट देयर इज नो स्टोरी इन योर टॉक. It's a silly talk. Without story, storyless talk is a silly talk. If I take the personality, I have to show why this personality differs from others. What makes him special? What makes him special? His contribution. His contribution. Instead of saying that he is great, I have to show what are the things that making him great, that making him great. And each and everything, once each and everything is before your eyes, you can see yourself that he is great, that he is great. No need to even say that he is great. That's the story element, that's the story element. Have you ever read any novel? You don't read. Animal farm is still there with you, only 3 pages done. Why are you looking so anxious? I'm telling the truth. It's the truth, ma'am. Animal farm, you haven't seen, you haven't read. 3 pages, maximum 4 pages for the past 2 months. For the past 2 months. Word power made easy with you, only 3 pages, 2 pages for the past 1 month. For the past 1 month. Maybe maximum 2 stories on YouTube for the past 1.5 months. 1.5 months. And still we are quite convinced that we are putting our efforts. Still we are quite confident that the thing which is lacking in our class is our class teacher. Who is to blame, me or you? Me. Surely me, because it's my duty to sit with you at your home and doing the work for you also there. Every day I have to restrict you in the class, and every day I have to do the same thing. No reading part is there, nothing is there, man. How many vocabulary, how many words have you written for the past 2 months? Cambridge. From where are you getting those vocabulary words? From where are you getting those words? Are you going through the books or not? The vocabulary, yeah, I have given to you. The only vocabulary is enough. The vocabulary is enough. There is nothing else needed. There is nothing else needed. Today I am going to illustrate the personality which really paved my way for the future, and he is none other than the linguist Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky was born in a small town. At the age of 10, he was really a figure who wrote an essay, an inspiring essay on politics. And the essay got a huge applaud from the public and as well as his classmates. And for several years, it remained uncompeted. The charm of the essay was thus that many schools invited him to honor him, and he became the ideal for those students who want to write on politics, who want to write an essay, an inspirational figure for those who lack the skills to write. But as he achieved his schooling and he gained his knowledge, and later on he joined the Harvard University, within the 2 years he was really fatigued. One day he thought he should leave the university and study so that he can pursue his dreams in politics. But at that time he met the linguist Harris, and Harris really inspired him a lot, and through those efforts he became the linguist. Later on he did many works. His theories which still prevailed, and the best contribution came from him after 13 years of struggle while he was 29, and he was studying at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a renowned institute, and he wrote and critics At that time, Skimmer was a great personality. He wrote a book on verbal behavior. Verbal behavior means that how humans acquired the language, how a kid spoke those words which he learned at his childhood. And the theory was that through the inspiration and through reward method, the kids got those vocabulary and it gets instilled in his mind. That was the theory, that if you remove the reward from the kid, nothing will be left, no knowledge will ever flourish. For him, it was the constant practicing which make the kid to flourish, to bloom. And when Noam Chomsky, 2 years later, while he reviewed the theory of B.F. Skinner, he wrote an critical essay on it. He wrote that it is impossible to condition a kid, even if how many sentences we process in our mind, we can't learn each and every sentence. It's impossible to fill the child with every sentence because the stimuli is not enough to the kids, and we have the innate ability to learn language. We rephrase those sentences, we fragment those sentences, we unite those sentences, and every kid comes up with the different sentences. If the rote learning was enough, it was impossible for a kid to acquire the language, because while he is gaining the language momentum, he is not only going for the words. Words are there, but still he is also acquiring the syntax. He is uniting those principles which are inherent in language, and he practiced those principles and he debated. And while he wrote the critical review on B.F. Skinner, B.F. Skinner really got irritated because at that time he was 54 and a renowned psychologist, and the world admired him a lot, and the world think that his teaching, B.F. Skinner's teaching, really paved the way for the conditioning of those kids. But his experiment retained solely to pigeon and rats and pigeon. He conditioned them, and through the conditioning, he published the theories that the way the animals are conditioned, they learn new things because of those conditioning. The similar way is applied to human being, but it was his mistake, because when Chomsky was reading the review, while he was only 29 at that time, but he has the immense capabilities. Soon he read the article, he said that it's rubbish. He declared it rubbish, and he wrote a dissertation lasting 55 pages and sent it to B.F. Skinner. When Skinner read those pages, he mocked Chomsky, because Chomsky at that time was known to nobody. He was unknown to the world. He said he's a kid and he is going to fight with a stone, and my theories are proved, but he is raising the question and he knows nothing about psycholinguistics or psychological aspects of brain. And when the journalist asked him to prove the theory and to remark the critics, those reviews, B.F. Skinner said that he is just a kid. He is nobody, and I am not responsible to reply to a person who possesses no knowledge, who lacks knowledge. It's not in my purview to answer those questions. So he dismissed him completely. Later on, 1 year later, his theory, Chomsky's theory, was published, and many editorials and journals all around the globe were ready to publish his theory. And after 2 years, when Skinner was asked to come on the stage to share Mr. Chomsky, he again denied. He said that I have already read the review. The review is the same. There is nothing new in the review, and so there is no need to participate in a debate with him. I still say that he possessed nothing. He mocked him again. But later on, when he was pressed too hard, he came up with the follow ups which was spotted nowhere. He said that there are certain aspects, and Chomsky failed to understand those aspects. This was his excuse. But in life, he never faced Mr. Chomsky. Chomsky formed those theory. Chomsky worked hard and came up with the idea of universal grammar. Universal grammar is the concept where every kid is born with the innate ability to learn the language, however it is, whatever it is. And every child, wherever he is born, he has the capability to learn a language. And Chomsky said, for the past 1 lakh years, 100,000 years, this capability almost remained unchanged. The spoken capability, while our ancestors were migrating from Africa at that time, East Africa at that time, all of a sudden the linguistic capability was born. And it is the time of great achievement, the great leap for humankind. Many successes were achieved during that time. Archaeologists' survey proves the point. When we study the archaeological prospects, we see through the eyes of those archaeologists that really that was a great period, a momentum for the human history, a momentum from the history. And Chomsky said it is the time when the language was born. When the language was born. But after that, really there was nothing changed. The aspects remain the same, but neuroscience still have to uncode those principles, those neuronal connections. We have to understand those neuronal principles which makes us unique. He said that my granddaughter, who is just 3, she is speaking English and she's learning English, but she has a nice kitten, and kitten is gaining nothing. The kitten is staying all the time with her, but he or she is not acquiring a single word, but she is making progress every day. First day when she started speaking, she stuttered a lot, da da da, but later on she acquired the skill and she said dad. Later on the syntax was missing, but within 3 or 4 months she gained the syntax. He said that it is impossible to say that she learned while she was listening to everything. Every word she uttered was not the product of listening, but immense computational aspects of our mind, which makes her unique, which makes a unique all the human beings. All the human beings are unique because of those computational aspects. We listen to some sentences, but we later on modify those sentences. We come up with a new sentence. It's our ability, and everybody is equipped with that ability. And universal grammar was really mocked at that time, but he worked 20 years constantly to prove his theory. Later on, when he published his book, the book was Principles and Parameters. He proved that principles are those which are genetically endowed to us. We got those principles from our genetics. We are human born and we got those aspects from birth. But a chimpanzee lacks completely. The biggest rival of Mr. Chomsky, he also did some experiments. He bought a chimpanzee and named the chimpanzee as Nim Chimpsky. Nim Chimpsky. Nim Chimpsky was acronym to mock that personality. But when the theory was published, and he also realized that I failed the project, because even if his hard efforts, and he raised the chimp as his own kid, but later on the chimp became really aggressive, and The family suffered a lot. Later on, he submitted his report saying that it was impossible for him to teach even the sign language. The human language and the sign language is the truth verified by the scientific journal, that the visual aspects which are going for the sign language, the people who are born deaf, they choose sign language, and sign language and the language which we listen store into the same area in our brain, code into the same area. The same area is designated to our brain. It's the truth. It has been published many times. There are publications proving that theory. How it came to be, nobody knows the fact. Nobody knows for sure, because visual aspects are stored into the different region of the brain. If that is so, the theory proves that the aspects which are predominantly visual must store in the right hemisphere, but they are storing in the left hemisphere. Instead of going in the right hemisphere, they are storing in the left hemisphere. And his attribution, his contribution after the government and binding theory became immense. He proved mathematically those equations which remained unhindered till that time, and the barren land became fertile. And since that time, we see now the personality Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky is admirable to the world, and he is the personality. If we divide the linguistic world, we say that the world before Chomsky and the world after Chomsky. Linguistics world before Chomsky was completely different. The world after Chomsky. Now he is quite young, 87. He is quite young, still 87, and working a lot on genetics. How our genetics led to the revolution that we call the language. One day the scientists will able to solve the puzzle, maybe within Chomsky's lifespan or maybe later. But the theory must come to an end where it must be understandable to all. We are looking for that time. We are waiting the period to come. Thank you. तो जो विचार